what I'm doing here is we got a 67 GTO that we're basically doing an off-frame restoration on. And you can watch the videos on that if you want and see the transformation of the car that we're working on right now. But what I'm doing right now is I am prepping this up for seam sealer. What happened to this tape?
I don't know, Pete. I guess it got hot.
Well, we can't use that on the tape machine, can we?
Why not?
Are you joking me?
Oh, you can use it flat.
No, you can't.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
So, what I'm doing here is I'm outlining my gutter rails on my classic car. Now we're going to be calling this a classic car because this is pretty much how you do it, unless you got the 2K seam sealer that's self-leveling, which a lot of people aren't going to be using. Now I do have the 2K seam sealer that's self-leveling, and what that consists of is two tubes that mixes together when you pour it in, and then of course it just self-levels itself out as it dries, and then it dries in approximately 30 minutes. The reason I'm not using that is because that's actually packed away because we are moving out of state and it's with other stuff at that shop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it the old school, old-fashioned way, which is probably the way that you're going to do it. Now, let me explain the situation here. We have this car soda blasted and sand blasted. So when they soda blasted the outside of the car, of course, if Minnie could come over here with the camera on the gutter rail, you can see that they removed all the factory seam sealer. Now this is very important that you put that seam sealer back in there, because that is where the roof and the gutter rail of the vehicle spot weld together. And if that's not seam sealed, you're going to get water, you're going to get moisture down inside that, it's going to leak into the car, and then all this is going to start rotting and rusting away, and then all the paint will start peeling, and then guess what? My friend Pete's a piece of shit because he didn't do his job the correct way. So we always want to make sure we do it right. Now, what we got here, this is your average typical seam sealer. Many companies make it. I've never used this brand before. I called up my paint and body supply guy that's local here, Color Tech, and the guy's name is Eamon. And if you're in the Denton County area and you need paint supplies, call Color Tech over at there. Let me go ahead and do a little advertising for Eamon. He's a really nice guy. Let's see what we got here. What is his number? I think it's 972-906-9185. Let me see if I can pull up his little website that he has on here. Color Tech, Louisville. You know, we always like to, I'm going to go over to his shop. I think it'd be nice to do a little video at his place. What do you think? And do some advertising for him. But he doesn't really have a website, but you can look on my phone right here. It's Color Tech Auto Paint and Supplies. Right there. Give the guy a call. Let's go ahead and pop his phone number up. There he is. His name's Eamon. And if you're in the North Dallas, Denton County, Louisville area, give this guy a call. Help him out. He's an honest guy and sells honest products. All right, so what you want to do is you want to outline. Look how we outline that. Now, if you look real close, there's a ridge right here. I don't know if Minnie can see that. Right here, there's a ridge. What I did is I went down approximately a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch down below that ridge, And then I followed that all the way down. The next thing I did, I went ahead and put my tape just right on the top edge of our drip rail itself. And that's to keep the seam sealer off of the car and to get us a nice flowing perfect line. Now another thing you're going to want to do is get yourself a paint stick. Very important. I don't know where my fucking tools are. Now I've lost my fucking wire cutters.
When you're making a video, try to have all your props together before you get started. Just a tip.
Most guys will take their little pinky, and once they do it, they'll just kind of rub it in here like this.
It's pretty much just like caulking the
And
toilet.
be done kind of like that, but the problem you have is you want it to look nice and uniform. And you can use your finger on some cars, a lot of cars you can't. Now I've seen cars where there's so little in there that you can't even, you know, put the edge of that stick in there and do it with, okay? So we're gonna do this two ways. Now the gap on the classic car we're working on today is pretty big, so you can see my finger will fit down in here and I'll be able to glide that down nice and smooth. Or you can take a paint stick, and what you do is you kind of eyeball it out here. And this is how I normally do it on these classic cars, because most of the time the drip rail gap isn't as big. Okay, it's not as big as this one. This is a big one. So if you look right there, we basically made that edge just big enough to ride down in here. Do you see that, Minnie?
Yep.
Okay, so that'll ride down in there, and then it will give us a nice flat smooth. Now the problem you have is if you stop, then you're going to have a ridge in it, and you know, like this here. We don't want to do that. You want to take your stick and you want to just lightly press on it and just flow it down just like that to the end, and that's it. So
You only want to do it one time.
one time,
And don't stop in the middle.
and then we'll go from there after we get that done. No, so we're going to take our seam sealer. Now this is a Roberlo seam sealer. It's called a 1K polyurethane sealant. Now he claims that this stuff dries very, very quickly. I hope so, because I got to prime this car. If you notice right here, I went ahead and bent my tape over so it has a little valley right there. And another thing you want to do is cut your tip very small. You don't want to cut it way down here. You want to cut it small enough where it, see how I'm doing that? It fits right in there. And then what we'll do is we are going to go ahead and start seam sealing this. And I'm just going to ride it down in here. This is a very, very important step in restoring an old classic car. A lot of people forget about this and they don't do it. Now look what happened there. You see how I went back? I kind of got a mess here, but that's okay. I got my tape there to protect me. So we're going to take it like this, and then we're going to go ahead and finish it off right there, just like that. Okay, so what we've done is we went ahead and put our seam sealer in there, but it's not a finished. You can see right here, it's high here, low over here. We missed the spot there. So you can do this two ways. You can take your stick that you cut out. I think I'm going to go ahead and trim that up just a little bit more. Make it just a little smaller. Okay, and you can take your stick and then you kind of just, you see how I'm doing that? And this seam sealer is very thick for some reason. Okay, so what you'll do is you'll take your stick just like this, and then you'll flow it down to a nice even finish just like that. Now that's if the gap is too small for your finger. So since we got a good gap and our finger will fit in here, I'm going to put a rubber glove on and I'm going to lightly go over that just to smooth it all out. Okay, I went and got me a glove. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my finger, make sure my glove is nice and tight. Oh, I'm sorry, I was going to use my pinky, wasn't I? I'm going to take my pinky, and then what I'll do is I'll just flow that out nice and even. And you can see it's overriding the tape. And that's fine if it does that, because we'll be pulling that tape off. But you can see how nice it flows out, just like that. Now we're going to let that dry, and then when I come back, we're going to go ahead and pull that tape off, and I'm going to show you how nice and clean it looks by putting the seam sealer in there properly, the right way, and letting it dry properly. Okay, we got a little bit of a mistake right here. There we go. Okay. Okay. And then you're going to see that by seam sealing your gutter rails back, everything's going to work out just fine. So we'll let that dry, and we'll be back. All right, it's been approximately 3 hours since we put our seam sealer on the car, and I think we're ready to go ahead and pull the tape off. Now, the situation is when you pull the tape off, you want to pull it away from the seam sealer. You don't want to like pull it straight up or toward you. Pull it away from the seam sealer. If you pull it into the seam sealer, what's going to happen, it's going to catch on there and it'll pull the seam sealer out. Now, the representative over there, our buddy, I don't even remember his name now. What's his name? You saw it when we, earlier in this video, yeah. He told me that it takes approximately 3 hours for this to dry. I'm feeling it and it still feels a little bit soft, so we probably won't prime the car till tomorrow just to be on the safe side, but let's go ahead and pull our tape off. So we're going to grab the tape right here, and then once again we're going to pull it away. Do you see how I'm doing that? I'm pulling it away from the seam sealer, and then what will happen is you will actually split the tape from the seam sealer, and then the seam sealer will stay in there nice and clean. Now let me go ahead and explain the situation why we put the tape on the edge here. This particular classic car is going to have chrome trim that goes around here, and if you have seam sealer on this lip right here, what's going to happen is when you put your chrome trim back on, it won't have an edge to grip. So it's important to make sure that you cover that lip. And you can also see I'm just pulling it away. I'm pulling it away from me so I have a nice, crisp, clean area that will give us the seam sealer that we want. I went ahead and seam sealed this side as well. Let's go ahead and look down that and see how nice and clean it is. And you can see just by the look of it, it's nice and professional. It flowed out really, really nice, and it all looks uniform, that will say we did it right, and that's the way that it's supposed to be done. And then of course if you look right here, you can see the same situation, just a real nice clean bead. Very important that you want to use your tape. Tape is a tool in the body shop, and tape can be used for many, many purposes, just like you saw here. This is Pete, my friend Pete, your friend Pete, showing you and telling you tech tips, secrets, and ideas to get you off your ass, stop being lazy, and do something the right way.
Watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.